Ahoy and welcome. This is Admiral. This will be a fairly short video as I'm working with very limited concrete information and don't want to overstate the certainty of the speculation I'll be indulging, although I'll cover what appear to be the more common suppositions. But it appears that a new DLC is imminent, based on the addition of new game files, an achievement, and now very frequent updates, which in the past has typically heralded an upcoming DLC. Well, that's about all that we can be entirely sure of. Let's look at some of the reasoning that some in the community are using to infer things about the focus and scope of this DLC, with the tempered understanding that this is speculative. In any case, credit to all the shown users for their thoughts and investigations, and all the more credit if their inferences prove to be correct. First off, there are two unusually important dates coming up in the next couple months, one being the 25th anniversary of the original Age of Kings near the end of September, and the other being the 5-year anniversary of the Definitive Edition in mid-November. Either one would be an excellent opportunity to release, or at very least announce, a new DLC. Or viewing it in the negative, letting such symbolic milestones pass by with nothing to show would, in my opinion, be a tremendous missed opportunity and an avoidable disappointment. But something is surely on the horizon, and there may be good reason to believe that it's been cooking for quite some time. Even before this relatively recent revelation was the oddity that some noted of what we might call a missing DLC, also known as DLC 5, as 4 and 6 are accounted for in the game files referring to Mountain Royals and Victors and Vanquished. This led to a somewhat popular belief that the Phantom DLC 5 refers to a large ongoing project that was started between Mountain Royals and Victors and Vanquished. The addition of the unknown new app, as well as recent and frequent updates to the Steam files, precipitated new speculation and the belief that the missing DLC 5 is soon to be revealed. And if true, that shouldn't be too surprising. In my Victors and Vanquished review, I wondered out loud where the rest of the team was, as apart from the voice acting and a few testers, it presented as a solo project. We haven't received a balance patch since April, and there have been no new civs, units, or even graphics added for nearly a year since the Mountain Royals was released last Halloween. Despite a post-VNV statement implying a consistently eventful year specifically for AoE 2DE in terms of further offerings, as well as similar messaging at the end of 2023. So the developers have certainly had time to come up with something substantial, even accounting for some siphoning of labor into AOM Retold.
Then I bet you weren't expecting this. No!
The final bit of info that has some thinking this DLC may be fairly large is that there's a new achievement with the number 319.
319! We have a 319!
If that represents an endpoint of a new batch of achievements from the last existing one, that would suggest 44 new achievements, which is more than any other DLC has added. The reality check, of course, is that there are alternative explanations or possibilities for all of these, including skipped or reserved slots for other projects that are further afield, or other possibilities we don't have to get into. Next up, we'll consider what this DLC might cover. Well, anything is possible, and assuming a more or less standard campaign and expansion DLC, the small amount of evidence that there is does seem to point towards East Asia, with a possible Chinese campaign, as well as civilizations that could be added around China, such as Khitans, Jurchens, Tanguts, or even the controversial Tibetans, who were considered for the Conqueror's expansion, as well as the Forgotten. The first clue to suggest this is a folder called CCAM, where some have suggested that the first C stands for China, and this would follow a convention used to link other folder names with their respective DLCs, although it's possible that the C stands for something else. For the sake of argument, Chieftains, or some have suggested, disappointingly, Copy. It's also possible that it breaks with past conventions, or is just noise or misdirection. Most interestingly, we also have some likely clues in the form of changed text in the VNV Temujin scenario, which implies the replacement of some civilizations currently represented by the Chinese with more fitting new alternatives, and credit to Tyranno for this information. According to him as well, there was also a softening of censorship laws in China a while back that may have made Tibetans a safer option. I have to admit, the East Asian angle looks pretty compelling, although we're working with little enough information that there's hardly any fuel for competing theories, and certainly not enough fuel to escape the orbit of reasonable doubt. And I'm old enough to remember when some people were certain that VNV was going to be East Asian themed. In any case, I apologize for the minimum of hard facts, but given the recent release of AOM Retold, which currently seems to be overshadowing AoE 2 given the lack of any recent updates or information for the latter, I thought you might like to know that, at least by all appearances, we should soon have something to look forward to for the greatest game of the ages. Or that you might at least be amused by the predictions of our forumers, or impressed if they turned out to be correct. Will the prediction of a Chinese-themed DLC and perhaps the addition of the long-awaited Tibetans come true? Or will it age like yak's milk in the sun?
I haven't even mentioned all the free yak's milk.
I expect to find out rather soon, and at the very latest by the DE anniversary in November. Best to keep our expectations tempered given how underwhelming the last DLC was, and allow room for error or delays, but I'm cautiously optimistic for something more expansive this time around. But what do you think? Are people reading too much into too little information? Do you have any guesses or preferences for the next DLC? Either way, you can let me know in the comments. That's all for today, and thanks for watching. This has been me spotlighting speculation surrounding what some Sherlockian super sleuths suspect shall be a swelling of civilizations situated in the Sinosphere.
319! We have a 319!
Till next time.